So today, we're diving into something really interesting. It's a spiritual practice pulled from an Islamic sermon that's meant for those moments, when you feel like you've hit the absolute end of the line.
I mean, think about it. What do you do when the doctors just shake their heads? When every single solution you've tried has failed? Whether it's a serious illness or some huge obstacle in your life, you've hit a brick wall. So, what's next?
Well, that's exactly the kind of situation the source material for this explainer tackles. We're talking about those moments of just complete hopelessness, where it feels like nothing on earth can help. The sermon we're looking at talks about a specific recitation, but here's the thing. It's not your first move. It's presented as this powerful last-ditch effort for things that seem incurable or just plain impossible. It's for when you've basically thrown out the normal rulebook. Okay, so what exactly is this practice? Let's get right into it. The whole thing centers around reciting a specific chapter from the Quran, Surah At-Taghabun. Now, to really get what's going on, you need to understand the term wظیفہ. This isn't just, a quick one-time prayer. A wظیفہ is more like a dedicated, consistent spiritual practice. It's a recitation that you weave right into your daily life, usually with a very specific goal in mind.
And get this, according to the source, this isn't some new thing. It's described as this really old, deeply rooted tradition, something that's been a constant companion for people through thick and thin, whether they were sick or healthy, at home or on the road. It has some serious history behind it.
All right, so how does it actually work? And what's behind the strong belief in its power? Let's break down the method and look at some of the incredible stories that are shared to show what it can do.
Okay, so the process is pretty clear. First, you have to pinpoint one specific, really important goal. Then you get to the heart of it, reciting the surah a certain number of times and following that up with a really sincere prayer. And this is key. It's not usually a one-shot thing. It's something you often keep up daily.
And here's where it gets really specific. The sermon points to a particular number, 41. That's the number of times you're supposed to recite it when you're focusing on one single urgent goal.
To really show what this is about, the speaker tells a story. It's about this young guy in Karachi who had a terrible fall and was left totally paralyzed. I mean, his situation was considered hopeless. So this practice was performed for him.
And the result? According to the sermon, it was a complete recovery. The quote here says it all. You wouldn't even know he'd ever been paralyzed. It wasn't just getting better, it was like it never even happened.
But then the sermon gets even more personal. The speaker shares his own experience, a time when he had a life-threatening asthma attack. In that moment of crisis, he recited the surah, you guessed it, 41 times.
And what he says happened next is pretty incredible. He describes having a vision of the surah itself, personified as a beautiful young man. This figure apparently told him his name was At-Taghabun, the name of the surah, and promised he would be healed. And right after that vision, he says his recovery began.
But, and this is a huge but, the sermon is really clear on this point. Just saying the words isn't the whole story. Not even close. There are some absolutely crucial spiritual conditions you have to meet for this to work.
Yeah, the whole thing really hangs on this one core idea, abdiyat. It's a state of complete, total humility and submission to the divine will. The source basically says that without this feeling in your heart, the recitation is just noise. It's the one thing you absolutely have to have.
So it's the whole package, right? It's not just about humility. It's also about being completely sincere in your prayer, having total focus, and showing deep respect for the people doing the reciting. It's this mix of hoping for mercy while also being honest about your own shortcomings.
And here's a story that just hammers this point home. There was this man who'd been sick for 3 long years. They performed the wظیفہ hundreds of times, but nothing. Why? Well, it turns out his son was being disrespectful to the people reciting it, even mocking them. The very day the son changed his tune and showed them proper respect, his father was healed.
So, the takeaway here is pretty serious. This isn't something to be taken lightly. The sermon gives a really stern warning. If you make this recitation a regular part of your life, you have to be so careful with your words. You can't use it to curse anyone, because if you do, that negativity will come right back and destroy you.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. What's the real principle at work here? Because it's obviously much deeper than just a magic formula.
The ultimate takeaway from the sermon is this. The power isn't in the words themselves. The words are more like a vehicle. They're a way to express a deep internal state, a state of total submission, total trust, and genuine, heartfelt sincerity.
And to really drive this home, the speaker points out why the prayers of sincere religious students, or talib, are considered so powerful. It's not that they are magic. It's because their whole life is geared towards that state of humility and focus. Their heart is already in the right place, and that's what really matters.
Which kind of leaves us with one big question to think about, doesn't it? No matter what tradition or belief system you look at, where does the real power come from? Is it in the words you say, the rituals you perform, or is it maybe in the humility of the heart that's speaking them?